If they can't stand up and defend against an abuse by our own government, then they don't deserve to be in the FBI. So they're like, we're gonna hack this form. The FBI is like a hacker team. They're so much smarter than this form. Just use the other button. They didn't think about that. The amount of fear in the workforce right now is palpable. How does it feel? Because that's what you did to us for years. The FBI and those corrupt agents who are still there are now packing their bags because the Trump storm is a-blowing through. You can see NBC News is reporting this literally, saying that agents have started to pack up their desks. They're already shoving their stuff in their little bins and cardboard boxes because they're fearing mass firings. Some agents have also been sent a 12-question survey asking them specifically about their roles in J6. Did you touch this case? Did you even think about prosecuting a J6er? Did you even dream about January 6th? Let me know. An FBI agent group advised agents overall, stay calm and refrain from making any statements. Invoke your right to remain silent because you're criminals. Which begs the question, what are they packing their desks up for? What are they going to bring with them? They're not going to need any of that stuff when they're in jail. Now, as fear of mass firings swirl through the FBI, acting director Brian Driscoll, the head of the bureau in New York and their field office, and an agents group reassured staffers and pushed back against the efforts to throw the FBI agents afuera. The unease comes after Trump publicly praised the firings of top FBI career executives. They use a bunch of adjectives. They're corrupt criminals, and they're fleeing and being fired as they should. Saying in a message to FBI staffers, Driscoll, the acting director, said that the Trump administration is seeking the names of every FBI agent who worked on the J6 investigations. He said the number was in the thousands of these folks. And just to be clear, there are 1,500-ish criminal charges brought against the J6ers. Maybe 2 to every defendant, right? Multiple people. Just at the FBI, not even talking about the DOJ. FBI agents. And how long were they working on them for? Now, on Sunday afternoon, the FBI Agents Association, so their little union or whatever, sent employees a notice. Some agents were freaked because they got an email that said, you have to respond to this 12-question survey. It was asking them about their involvement in the J6 cases. And this has been a little bend that we've been on here. And I've said here many times, we love our legal assistants, but not if they worked on the J6 cases. Okay, sorry, they got to go too. So everybody who was even thinking about it needs to be included. All the special agents in charge and the assistant special agents in charge and all of them. Someone said, well, we've confirmed this is accurate. We anticipate a large majority of our members are going to get this little survey, which represents agents, but it's not a union. At this point in time, they say, we recommend deferring to your division leadership on how to handle these surveys. So let me show you what has poked up over here. And this comes over from this fella, Garrett O'Boyle, Christian, husband, father, congressional whistleblower, indefinitely suspended FBI agent, former police officer, infantry veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan. Thank you, sir, for that service and for this service. Here is what he is sharing with us. Here are the questions that the FBI employees have until 3 p.m. tomorrow to submit to the Justice Department. So they all got this. This looks like almost like a Google form. Hi, redacted. When you submit this form, the owner will see your name and email address. What is your current title? I'm an FBI special agent. Are you currently a supervisor? Yes, I'm a supervisor of whatever, you know. They're all supervisors of something, you know, how their names are. Oh yeah, I'm a special agent. You're not just an agent? No, I'm a special agent. Why? Because you're an FBI? Yeah, that's mostly why. Are you currently an ASAC or SSIA? Assistant Special Agent in Charge or SSIA? So pick one. Are you one of those two positions? Select your answer. Next question. Number 4. Are you currently an SES employee? An SAC, a section chief, a DAD, an AD, etc., etc. So pick your answer, yes or no. Says, considering Liv's experience with thousands of employees, most of whom are aligned with the suspendables, those FBI guys who got nuked, and the specific examples of him, Marcus Serafin, Steve Friend, Philip Kennedy, it's interesting, but unsurprising to see the sanctimonious claims about a weaponized government now. Yeah, and remember, these guys got nuked in many cases because they refused to abide by the COVID garbage. There's like 7 ex-FBI guys. Okay, the rest of them are all still there. He just listed all of them who left. I'm being facetious, but it's like a lot. If there's thousands of people who are there going to be identified by their own admission as being J6 lunatics, and the J6 lunatics were also the COVID lunatics, right? And they're also the Catholic parishioners lunatics and the pro-lifer lunatics. They just weaponize everything against the DVEs, the domestic violent extremists, and the homegrown violent extremists, and the racially motivated violent extremists, and the list goes on and on. So the FBI threw these guys out, and now the FBI is complaining about this. They're like, how could they do this to us? They're throwing us out. Says, what was your title when you participated in investigations or prosecutions of events that occurred at or near the Capitol on January 6th. Because the defense from them is going to be, we were just following orders. I was just a lowly little FBI peon, and I was just doing whatever Christopher Wray's minions told me to do. So select your answer. Were you just like a new person or an old person? 6, were you a supervisor when you participated in investigations or prosecutions of events that occurred at or near the Capitol? So you should doubly know better. You, as a lowly agent, will still make the oath and the commitment to enforce the law, right? And when you're actually stepping out of alignment with that law, then you've got an obligation to do something about it. And these gentlemen did, right? They left, or they were forced out and abused by the very government that was violating our rights. So were you a supervisor? Were you an ASAC or an SSIA when you participated in the investigations of the events that occurred at or near the Capitol on J6? Were you an SES employee when you participated in the investigations that occurred near the Capitol? Garrett said, you know, all of us, when we were at the FBI, we had to submit our questionnaires that were similar in nature, but these were about our personal religious beliefs, right? Opposition to an unlawful order, to inject ourselves with some foreign substance and other related matters. Okay, these are personal issues that they were coming down on them over. Now they're claiming weaponization here. Tells you all you need to know, which is that they're corrupt, right? They're freaked out about this. This goes to their work product. Their politics infected, first of all, even the FBI that was asking these suspendables about these questions, shove that in your body. What do you believe about this? What do you think if this happens? Okay, those are like personal perspectives that the FBI has no substance over in terms of their commitment as an enterprise to the country. We have to have a diverse law force. Unless you're diverse chemically in your body, you all have to be pretty dang orthodox on that. So from both ends, they'll try to purge their employees, and then they'll now freak out when a legitimate form comes through and says, can you just please apprise us of how you handled a criminal investigation and prosecution? Because what you did was undermine the presumption of innocence, violate American citizens' due process rights, and act in opposition to your sworn oath. So what division are you currently in, FBI? The drop down is sorted by field offices, legal offices, HQ divisions, and then in alphabetical order by the division's 2 character code. So find yourself. And what division were you in when you participated in prosecutions near the Capitol? What division were you in? What was your role in the investigations or the prosecutions related to events that occurred at or near the Capitol? I did analytical support, just like assigning spreadsheet. I approved ECs or other documents. I led an operation or participated in an arrest. I was kicking doors in. You're gone. I was assigned as a case agent and more. Garrett says, you know, they're perfectly okay with weaponizing against those who point to the cross for their beliefs and against those they've deemed political Untermensch, as was the case with the J6ers. But when gross prosecutorial negligence occurred in the vast majority of those cases, and when the vast swaths of America's primary secret police force took those cases on with glee, scant few stood up and said, this is wrong. It was like, you know, when you see those videos of everybody breaking into the stores and they're like racing for the TVs and they're, you know, knocking down all the counters and all of those coolers are gone. Everybody's banging their carts into each other. It's bedlam, right? That's what it was like at the FBI. They're like, oh, great. We have unlimited money coming from the federal government, Joe Biden, and we've got all these innocent people out there who got caught up in something that was set up by our government that couldn't even protect the building when they had every aspect of our government inside of it, which was obviously set up that way to happen. If they can't stand up and defend against an abuse by our own government, then they don't deserve to be in the FBI. Gross prosecutorial negligence occurred in the vast majority of those cases. They looked the other way. And when vast swaths of the primary secret police took those cases on, nobody stood up for it. Of course, a few did, Garrett O'Boyle and the rest of them. So you can see they were checking boxes: discovery, evidence collection, grand jury subpoenas, HQ program management support, interviewed witnesses, responded to leads. This is what I was referring to when I said every single legal assistant, right? That is a euphemism for everybody else who did all this other minor work. No. I just put paper in the printer when it ran out. You're gone. Did you print a January 6th indictment on that? You're gone. Who bought the toner? Oh, you did too. Yeah, you're gone. No more toner for you. Everybody's gone. It's cleaning house. As this wraps up, he tells us, Marcus, Steve, Kyle, Phil, and I all pointed out causes for concern about the J6 cases. Now, most, if not all, of us made protected disclosures to Congress about it. All of us were retaliated for it. What was the approximate date of your last activity relating to the investigation or prosecutions related to the events that occurred at or near the Capitol? Please input the date and submit it. Okay. Now, what's so great about this, George Hill was also involved. Shout out to him as a suspendable. Also a fellow suspendable who brought great upheaval to his own life for whistleblowing whistleblowing about J6. If it wasn't for George, we never would have known about the gross weaponization of Bank of America and the FBI against the J6ers. That was the form that they all got, okay? Like everybody at the FBI, fill out your form. Were you even thinking about January 6th? If so, let me know. Let me see the keys on your keyboard to see how much you use those two keys, because you're going to be busted. Now, Garrett also shared this, and here is the response that they got from the FBI Agents Association, all right? So this is their little union-ish. They represent 14,000 active and former FBI special agents. And here's what he says about them. They have now sent out guidance and a canned statement. They're urging FBI employees to insert into the J6 questionnaire. We just read through the questionnaire. There's nothing really to shove in there. There's no like forms, right? It's just yes or no. Pick your position. It's a drop down. Like, we don't want to hear from you at all. Yes or no. There's not even an option to respond except to that very last question, as you saw, right? So then they say this. The DOJ should suspend all employees who use this canned response for lack of candor, right? So if you're caught lying, I answered A for all of them or whatever, and I wasn't really honest, you're out. EM, who are telling employees to use canned responses or flat out refusing that, should be fired for insubordination, right? You answer this, you've been directed, you've been given a direct order to fill out the form. He says, what's really interesting about this though, is the FBIAA, and this happened all over the country, okay, entities that are supposed to represent people who are standing up when things get tough, like you would say the FBIAA should represent the whistleblowers who were calling out corruption in the FBI, or you might say like state bars or criminal defense organizations should stand up against lockdown orders when those were happening. And they didn't do that at all. Everybody just got scared like little babies and closed everything up and said, stop fighting about this crap. They all went with the mainstream popular narrative, but now that their grift is about to be obliterated, now they're standing up to fight for their corrupt FBI agents. Funny, you refuse to assist the thousands of employees who didn't want to inject an unwanted substance into their bodies, but now suddenly you've got an interest in providing legal assistance to FBI agents who are about to get canned. He shared this. This is their response. Here's what happened. From FBIAA member connector. Many of you have heard about the 12-question survey that we just read, asking about employees' involvement in January 6 cases. Now, we have confirmed that this is accurate, and we anticipate a large majority of our members will receive this if they have not already. We understand that this feels like agents and employees are being targeted, despite repeated assurances that, quote, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. Yeah, funny. Maybe they should ask themselves what it felt like when they were doing it to the suspendables and forcing them to do things that they didn't want to do, not because it was doing a bad job in a criminal investigation or a criminal prosecution, just because they wanted to purge the agency of people who weren't in alignment with their preferred lifestyle. In this case, it was jabbing themselves a million times. But we understand that this feels like you're under attack. They say employees carrying out their duties to investigate allegations of criminal activity with integrity and within the rule of law should never be treated as those who have engaged in actual misconduct. See, that's a false premise. Hello? Adding insult to injury, they say, is that 4 years ago today, we lost two incredible FBI agents, Daniel Alfin and Laura Schwarzenberger, doing meaningful yet dangerous work that our members do every day. So we get a little sob story they shove in here too. And we lost some people. Today, we continue to remember and honor them, their families and friends and colleagues. While it is nearly impossible to block out the noise right now, we are reminded that like Dan and Laura, we do the jobs we do because it's a calling to protect and serve. And we believe in protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution of the United States. A big, bloviating, self-aggrandizing statement that is meaningless. Regarding the survey, we are actively working with leadership to obtain additional information about the request. We want to emphasize Acting Director Driscoll's statement saying, being included on this list in no way indicates misconduct. From Driscoll, who's probably fired. If allegations of misconduct were to arise, the FBI has a long-standing and robust process that aims at providing due process in accordance with policy and law. All right, we're freaked out. So, you're not in trouble yet, but if you are in trouble, because once they open up these manila file folders, they're going to see we have a robust process, and they can be assured we're going to grant them the same due process they gave the J6ers. We're going to give them more due process. We'll give them actual due process, but they're not getting any favors. If allegations of misconduct arise, you'll be okay. Now, at this point in time, we recommend deferring to your division leadership on how to handle these surveys. So if one of your corrupt bosses tells you to obstruct this and not answer truthfully or honestly, do what they say. In consultation with our member attorneys and the field, they say it is recommended that you include the following language in question 11 and choose other, okay? So they're like, we're gonna hack this form. The FBI is like a hacker team. You're so much smarter than this form. Just use the other button. They didn't think about that. So copy and paste this whole thing thing in there. Now, I hope they change that form and put a character limit in there that's much shorter than this. The character limit should be like, 15 characters. But here's what they want. So they're going to copy and paste this little stupid statement. They're going to say, the responses in this survey are provided based upon my current knowledge, information, and belief. I have been directed to respond to this survey in an extremely short time frame and with minimal information. Furthermore, all the questions except one do not allow for any written explanation. I have been told, quote, I am required to respond to this survey without being afforded appropriate time to research my answers, speak with others, speak with counsel, or other representation. I have not been advised if these answers are being provided for informational purposes, administrative inquiry, security division inquiry, or criminal inquiry. Look at this. I have not been advised of my rights in this matter. To the best of my ability and belief, I perform my duties in accordance with the DIOG, federal statutes, and the Constitution, and the matters I worked on were properly predicated under the DIOG and were open and investigated at the direction of the Department of Justice. Yikes. That's like, in other words, what you're saying is you're guilty. Is that what you're saying? I disavow and affirm that nothing I state in this statement can be true, hold against me, disclaim all prejudice and court of law in the state of Delaware. What? I thought you didn't do anything wrong. Just sign the form. Everything's fine. Like, what are you talking about? What are you so nervous about? No, I didn't break the law. This is what I did. Just fill the form out. And to be honest with you, this is not even that good of advice. All right. The good advice for a criminal like this, right, who's contemplating all of this, is to just not submit it and just not say anything, right? Invoke your right to remain silent and just be silent. Don't submit anything, because this can and will be used against you, no doubt about it, as soon as it comes through and you've submitted that. We'll say, oh, okay, interesting. Now, if this guidance changes, we will immediately communicate such. In the event that further surveys questions follows, guidance will be sent out. We continue to hear rumors of dismissals and security revocations or individuals who have been told to expect dismissals today. Again, we have no confirmation of any such events. Please be cautious in sharing and spreading what could be misinformation. Oh yeah, we know what we do to misinformationers now. We do not need any more stress on those potentially impacted. Again, we cannot stress enough that we are working around the clock for you, our members, and we're going to do everything in our power to advocate for each and every one of you. The amount of fear in the workforce right now is palpable. How does it feel? Because that's what you did to us for years. Please know that there are numerous resources available to you. Call these counselors here. Call a crisis hotline. Call Copline. Absolutely amazing. Why are they so freaked out if they did nothing wrong? What is the fear all about? Is because they know what they did. Just like the people who go in and loot those stores and run out. They're like, I got a big screen TV. FBI agents. They were all doing that. They all thought they were going to get to keep their TVs, keep their J6 scalps that they got and celebrated amongst themselves at their cocktail parties. Well, we know who you are. We saw you on camera. We saw you running out with that TV and that J6er, and now you're done. So the fear is palpable, and so is the joy in the air. Kamala's right about something. There is a lot of joy after this election. She's right about that. All right, so he also said, look, here's an idiot's guide on how you know the FBI has been subverted by Marxists, right? Under Biden and their prosecutions, they went after J6ers like Dark Horse 92. They went after Sarah McBee and many others, and families, whistleblowers, Seraphin and others. Now under Trump, all you got to do is fill out a form, and they're all freaking out. What? If you're so proud of your J6 work and you didn't break the law and you didn't steal any big screen TVs or J6 civil rights out of anybody, what are you so fearful about? Why is everything so palpable? Our friend Julie Kelly posted this, said, here's the letter that Ed Martin, who is now the acting AG of the United States until Pam Bondi comes in. This is the letter that he sent over to Chuck Schumer. You remember back in 2020, we had Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, two Supreme Court hearings, and they were about to issue a decision, and Chuck Schumer was very unhappy about it. And he was standing out there on the gates of the Supreme Court, and he said, I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hits you if you go forward with these awful decisions. Chuck Schumer said that. Sounds like violence and an incitement to violence, imminent lawless action, and more. And that happened not too long ago. So now he got a letter from Ed Martin, U.S. acting AG. Says, all right, dear Senator Schumer, as United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, says, I receive requests for information and clarifications. And so I take these requests seriously and I act on them with letters like this one that you're receiving now. At this time, Chuck, I respectfully request that you clarify your comments from March 4th, 2020. Your comments were at a private rally off the campus campus of the U.S. Capitol. You made them clearly and in a way that many found threatening, and your exact words are as I stated earlier. We take threats against public officials very seriously. I look forward to your cooperation with my letter of inquiry after request. Should you have further questions regarding this matter, Senator, please do not hesitate to call my office or schedule a time to meet in person. Thank you. All the best. Ed Martin, U.S. Attorney. And so Chuck Schumer was having a meltdown today because he was not going to have his Corona beer and his guacamole. And you can see he thought this was a fun little thing for him to do. Come out here and be like, Mexico! Yeah! And he did that. But of course, the Mexican government and Claudia Sheinbaum are now sending 10,000 troops to secure the southern border, and they're paying for it. So here was Karoline Leavitt responding to Chuck and his new inquiry.
It's going to affect beer, okay? Most of it, Corona here, comes from Mexico. It's going to affect your guac, because what is guacamole made of? Avocados, both from Mexico. If you have pizza, it's going to affect the cost of cheese.
Like Food Network with Chuck Schumer.
He doesn't want any pain at his Super Bowl party, Caroline. What do you have to say about that very interesting show and tell?
Well, this just proves that the Democrat Party is still incredibly out of touch with the American people, because while Chuck Schumer is whining about the cost of a pint of beer, President Trump is talking about saving American lives. And I would say to Chuck Schumer, what would you give? What price would you pay if your child was killed at the hands of an illegal immigrant who should have never made their way into this country in the first place? Or if your child died at the hands of illegal Chinese fentanyl that was trafficked through both our southern and northern borders? There are thousands of parents across this country who have felt that loss. There is no price that can bring their child back. And that's what President Trump is doing with these tariffs. He's making it very clear that he is going to put the American people's interests first, and he is going to protect our homeland. And Democrats can either get on board with that, or they can continue to lose elections as they did on November 5th.
Yeah, Chuck's having a tough time, just wants to continue to pretend like he knows about food and beer and how to barbecue hamburgers and more. So he was having a tough time with his guac and beer because Mexico, of course, came to the table and agreed to secure the border and to stop the flow of fentanyl, which is exactly what we wanted. So Alina Habba went on Fox News and had a conversation with Free Guilty, and here's what that sounded like.
Pam Bondi, Kash Patel have not yet been confirmed. I suspect they both will be, but not yet. So the decision to fire federal prosecutors, remove or reassign bureau agents is being made by whom?
I mean, that's a pretty basic question. We have acting DOJ officials that are appointed when they're removed. Jack Smith resigned in a failure for his witch hunt for President Trump. He was also improperly put into special counsel. But these decisions, remember, come from the government, and who is running the government? It's President Trump. When you're looking at anybody who is or is not America first, it's a pretty simple line. The PPO office of the executive branch, they're doing an amazing job. They're hiring. We've hired thousands of people. We have tens of thousands of resumes. But more importantly, we're firing. And that is done by PPO. But ultimately, remember, President Trump is running this country now. He's moving quickly to get good people in and bad people out.
Yeah, and I'm tired of that meme that's going around. It's like, Elon's an unelected billionaire who's controlling everything. Trump is the president. Trump is reshaping all of these agencies, and their changes are being done at his direction, under his power and authority. So this idea that like a bunch of stuff is happening too fast, they're like, well, who did that? Who has the authority? It's way too fast for them to keep tabs on, and that's why it's so confusing for them. So thank you, Alina Habba, for explaining how this works.